concerns there on this, around about 77 acres.
Yeah.
With rezoning, so David, let's talk some more about this, bring us up to speed with anything that may have changed since our last meeting.
I don't think the applicant's here at this point, so I would recommend at least moving on to the next item.
All right, well, we can see what, so we've got some of the village people here. Gentlemen in the back, are you guys here for any?
We're walk-ins for later.
Okay.
We're still with the back here.
Okay, so let's do this, let's come back to this board rezone in. While we have other people here, we're gonna re-board this, and we'll come back to it. So let's talk about RZ 2026-03. So created a PZD on this subject parcel. This is East Lowell Avenue. On that 7 acres for single parcel, I believe, 151000202. And make sure I'm correct on this, but the language in the PZD, what we didn't capture correctly was the individual selling of the units that are part of those townhomes. And we asked you to come back to make the revisions, because the intent, we all knew what the intent was, which was to individually sell those units. And the language wasn't right. Everybody agreeing that that's where we left off, and we instructed them to come back, and we'd have to have this amendment, or have a public hearing regarding that. I believe that's a public hearing, correct? If we're gonna amend the PZD.
Yes,
So there would be the amendment of the PZD to do such. So then let's talk through this, bring us back up to speed on this, and let's talk through this.
No, this would be the next meeting. It's not what the rezone request is like.
Yeah, that's what we need to talk about. So let's talk through this.
and I think we all understand what the applicant is going for as far as, redoing the PZD document to allow for the zero lot line properties. So, not to get too deep into it, but if you look at the rezoning request, then we'll have to go through and have the whole document updated. It's a little bit. Let's get to the 3rd page. And they're requesting zero lot lines for the multi-family townhomes and reduced minimum lot size and lot width. So, there was one previously approved planning and zoning PZD for some village. All the provisions, covenants, exhibits, libraries, and landscape standards, architectural requirements, and building permits from the PZD, they want to remain in effect, except for the 2 specific modifications that they're requesting, and that's in section D of PZD. The residential lot type, multi-family minimum lot size, 2,000 square feet, reduced from the 10,000 square feet for the whole building size. Maximum density is 10 units per acre, which is showing there's no change in the setbacks. We're proposing for interior side being 0, exterior side 15, front 20, rear 25. Maximum structure height should be the same. We're going to add our maximum 30 feet. Lot coverage 60%. Minimum lot width will be 18 feet. So the zero lot line properties, minimum lot width that they would be allowed to be 18 feet. No commercial, no changes to commercial laws. state in there, except for the two specific modifications requested below, we have the requested limits for section D, or just you incorporating all of this in that. It's not specifically called out what the changes are. Does that make sense what I'm asking?
Really, what I was looking for is the original PZD, which I'm looking at right now, and the amendments, because all is the amendments to this, to the section D. And with a commentary that would stay, I would believe, the commentary says what the original structure size is, kind of like, that's what was done. But the individual units for the sellable property indicating in here for purpose of individual sell and title of each unit,
Yes.
rather than the total structure, something along those lines.
Yep.
I think, because that's the intent, right?
Correct.
And when I read the document, that's what I understand. But does somebody else understand that for clarity later? You see what I'm saying? Like, what are we amending? We've got the PZD, that's what we have, and we just need to correct the intent of what we all agreed upon, just correcting the verbiage inside of it that indicates that.
Correct. Yep. Thank you and David both did a good job summarizing it. The only thing that I wanted to add is one thing that we talked about quite a bit in the previous planning meetings is the extra POA covenants to handle those being zero lot lines and multiple different owners throughout the whole subdivision or project. So they can take care of the shared amenities and exterior maintenance and landscaping. So that all that remains, and that's still in the PZD. Just want to make sure that everybody was aware of that. The only change is like David mentioned, the lot size and the setbacks, because when they printed or plotted the 5-plexes and 4-plexes on there, we called out the dimensions of those total buildings, not the individual units.
Right.
The partial lines were shown on the drawing, but that wasn't enough, and so we needed to come back and redo it and basically just clean up the paperwork so it's clear in the future.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
And I brought out what we looked at and what we recommended for approval to council. And I'm seeing two different total acreage numbers, one at 5.8 and the other at 7.04.
Yeah, so the total property is 7.04, but that includes right-of-way. And since this property has 3 frontage streets on it, there's a large section of that that's actually just asphalt. So when you take away the right-of-way, that's the remaining buildable land or usable.
But this actual parcel number has the 7.04.
Correct, yes. The total parcel is 7.04.
Thanks.
And in that, oh, go ahead.
When were you here last and you came and you gave us this one? Was that a month ago or 2 weeks ago?
Probably a month
Was
ago.
it a month ago?
I think so.
Okay, this was a month ago.
Or it's been a minimum of a month ago.
I think so. Yep.
This was like the updated one that you brought.
Gotcha. Yes, I think that was the last work session.
Okay, yeah.
We weren't quite ready for the voting meeting then. So.
Approximately what size are these townhomes going to be?
They're roughly 1,200 square feet for the 2-bedroom and 1,600 square feet for the 3 bedrooms.
And have 2-car garages?
Correct. Every unit has an attached 2-car garage.
So like, tell me, take a 4-building unit.
Mm-hmm.
So you got 18 feet width. What's the depth of the actual structure?
I believe they're right around 65 front to back.
Okay.
And so those are the dimensions that we called out in the previous PZD, the original that was approved. But they just need to separate the demise and walls, which are the
Yeah, I
property
think when I
lines.
did the backwards math after I took out the front and rear setbacks, it came to like 67 or something like that.
That sounds right, yep.
Have you gotten any further as far as the design detail and the exterior and landscaping plan and
Landscaping, I think, yeah, that's all in the PCD. That was approved already. The designs, we did redraw the front elevation to where it's not necessarily symmetrical, so the individual units look different. You can tell the difference in the roof
that?
lines.
It's a little more individual.
Correct, yeah. So there was one on the fourplex was the only hard one because it's just split in half. The fiveplex was easy because we have a 3-bedroom unit in the middle, which clearly separates the 5 units. The fourplex, we did a flat roof line on one and then kind of an angled pitch roof line on the other middle unit to make them look different.
Did you send those updates on?
Yes, they should be included. Are they? Maybe not. It wasn't him. Obviously, it was the architect.
Oh,
But yes, they did get added, and it's included in this project.
I just have one more question.
Yeah.
This is just me. In the reasons for revising the PZD, number 3 says improve housing affordability and marketability. Can you tell me, expand on that? How is this going to do that?
I think that the engineer might have just added that to show that we're planning to sell them, and so it's not just 34 total units that'll be owned by one person to rent them out. They'll be individually purchased, and by obviously affordability is a relative term.
It's a very big buzzword these
But-
days for everything.
With the product that we're building, 1,200 and 1,600 square feet, it is well below the price of homes in this area.
Thanks.
so under $500,000.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
The only other thing is that, and maybe it's just semantics, but it says, the approved PZD remain in full force and effect except for the 2 specific modifications requested below, and there's actually 3. There's the minimum lot size, the interior side, and then the minimum lot width. That's 3 changes. So I would have said except for the 3 specific modifications.
Okay. I'll have Clint make a note of that, and if we need to change up the verbiage, we can.
I just want this to be, I want us to all be clear, and I want it to be clear to council.
Yep.
And I do, well, none of us want anything to look suspicious and change.
Yep.
We want it to be straightforward, what the expectations are, and our expectations are what was initially set forth with the intent, which is the individual sale.
Yeah.
So that was how it was presented, sold, and it's just getting the language corrected in here, so that's where
Yes.
the focus.
And that term of everything less except these items was the cleanest way that we found to do that. So we're not just bringing a whole new rezoning. We're not trying to slide anything else. Yeah.
Not just count.
Okay.
So it now looks like most of this, like on the commercial part, looks to be a good 70% correct. Is that correct?
There has not been any change on that.
Are you looking at the site plan?
Yeah, we're not on the
Oh,
site.
I'm-
So,
plan
yeah,
yet.
we'll go to that
We're
next.
just doing the reason.
We're just working on the
PZD amendment.
amendment. Is there anything else on that? Is everybody clear on that?
I'm clear.
And Val, you guys are good there? Ladies? Alright. So let's talk about site plan review.
Okay.
Let's move into that. Sandra's ready to go there.
Sorry.
I am too.
Well, it's
That's
very
the fun
important because it's one of the first things coming into our city. And so we want it to look really nice and blend in well with the area. So I just really want you to understand, what the facades and things.
Yeah. That drawing, the rendering for the commercial building, is very accurate. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head the exact percentages of brick.
It looks
However,
very similar to the complex. just
color
down the
yours,
road,
yes,
right? At
correct.
Arsenal.
Yeah.
Now,
That's kind of what we used to model it after.
okay. And then the housing though, that doesn't look like it blends well with your commercial. It looks completely.
The colors that are on there, I'm not a fan of. That was just the architect threw them on. They would be colors that would match it. I don't think that's called out necessarily in the PZD, but it is
that brick or siding?
hardy board. So the exteriors of the townhomes are required for the PZD to be hardy board and brick. There wouldn't be any vinyl siding or any other alternative material. It'd be primary materials.
And I know hardy board is just different in that part.
More
But
so.
what I'm hoping is that it blended with kind of the homes that are around it, where it felt like it belonged. And then, just from the little drawing that I'm seeing, it doesn't look like it blends very well.
Gotcha. I think a lot of that could be changed with colors.
Yeah, the
With those
colors are
bright
kind
colors
of-
that are on there, it wouldn't be that.
The green and the screaming blue.
Yeah.
they're getting like
No, that won't be what they are.
more like taupey and.
The main conversation for today that we wanted to bring up was that Clint and the city's engineers and David and everybody have gone back and forth. We've had a couple meetings with the public works director and everybody, fire department, and we're getting really close on the site plan. We're down to just a few comments that we got back, I believe, on Friday from McClelland. Clint is working on answering those comments right now. Nothing is substantial. Correct me if I'm wrong, David, but I don't think anything is a major concern on either side. So Clint will respond to those. I think this will be our third round of comments. At least third round of comments back and forth on the site plan. I think we all have a good grasp on where we're at. What we're requesting for the May voting meeting is that we could get large-scale approval, even if it is conditional upon staff approval. So if there's a couple little details that need to be ironed out and approved by David.
What's the deal with the lift station?
The lift station, I think we're good on the design. We're waiting on a couple more flow data numbers from McClelland. I think I have to do some testing just to verify, but we originally intended or asked for that to be owned by us and just given a lease or an easement to the city. But after meeting with the public works director and David, they decided that it needed to be owned by the city, which is fine. I get it. That's just the ordinance. Our intent with that was just that obviously when you first saw this drawing, it had another commercial building there. And we had to lose that building to fit the step system, the lift station. So we're working with the attorneys right now, the city attorney, to just write up some sort of deed verbiage that says if or when that lift station is no longer needed. So if the city provides gravity sewer to that property, we can remove the lift station and make that then again a buildable commercial lot, benefiting both us and the city. Because if not, it'd be just an empty grass field that's valuable and yeah, we can put more businesses there. So that, speaking with Public Works on that could be 5 years, could be 10, could be 3. So there wouldn't be any time constraints on that. The city would own it until it's no longer needed.
All right, thank you.
And with the concerns on the color, do we have the old PCD document, did we specify a color palette in there? Do we need to know about that while we're working on modifying it?
Yeah, that we recommended approval of.
And Nico, can I ask you a question about what I see on the sign here?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's not.
But in the original,
I count 1, 2, 4,
we have 5 to 50% stone, but now we're talking 0 stone and just hardwood and wood.
These were.
No?
One for each unit on all the buildings.
So this is what I have.
So those are 5 down. These two, there would be 2 units here, so 1 unit right there. So is what's there.
Okay, but there will be no.
No HVAC units.
What is that then?
Yeah, it's this. Yeah, so, yeah, question on the percentage, so, at least 5% stone.
Oh, I think it's railing. I think it's it doesn't make sense. Yeah. I think it's just on the rendering. Yeah. I don't think that makes sense there. Because now it's so number
To
10.
get a more specific,
The key thing is it says 5 to 50%.
All right.
Yes, so is that where we're at now?
no,
What we're talking about is how much hardy board versus other materials you're using. So do you know what the percentage is on these new?
I don't. Yeah, I know it's called out in the PZB, but I think it's up to for both
It's up
of
to
them.
50%,
Yeah, that's
but
what
it looks like more than that.
there's
From
there's
these
a range for every exterior finish, but it's only saying up to 50% hardy board was what we approved. But these are looking like a lot more hardy board, so I don't know if it's just what the architect put in there and you're planning on.
because this looks like 100%, and I really can't tell.
So I think the reason for that is just without. I mean, the PZD can only go so far into detail. We went pretty detailed with it. The architect designed the buildings, and what you're looking at is what the drawings were sealed and done as of now.
So this
So
is like what they.
Yes. Yeah.
But it doesn't say on here.
Include the materials on the elevation. The elevations would
The
indicate,
percentage shown,
yeah,
They look just like
hardy.
hardy board.
Yeah.
Okay.
which is not.
That's
which
not
is
what
50% is the max in the PCD document.
Okay. So if that's the case, then there'll be maybe I'm misspoken. Yeah.
Well, we're
We can't go
considering
against
this
the
last
PZD.
time we talked about for the PZD around, we talked about it in specific detail because it was something that we were gonna see as soon as you drive in these rings, the first impression, so
Yeah.
it's an important item, so it really needs to be called out.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think as long as the hardy board is only the 50%, and then 50% is either stone or brick or something else, then I think would be fine.
Okay. If the PZD calls that, obviously that's what we're bound to.
Yeah, the PCD says 5 to 50 brick, 5 to 50 metal under eaves and soffits, 5 to 50 stone or manufactured stone, which I didn't hear that mentioned at all tonight. 5 to 50 hardy board and 0 to 50 glass.
Gotcha. So I'll give those numbers and percentages to the architect and just make sure that matches up. And if it doesn't match what he has, then he can adjust that for the rendering.
And show it on what we
Yes.
look at
Yeah.
the next meeting, that'd be great.
The intent, just to further clarify a little bit, for the first floor, brick will be the primary material there.
Oh, okay.
The second
On
would
the
be,
picture, it looks like hardy board.
Gotcha.
So if it was brick on the lower, I feel like it would match the surrounding
Yes.
houses.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
and there's a little bit of building reasoning for that too, because on your second story, it's hard to hang, you don't have a brick ledge. So the first being brick makes it a natural,
And then the upstairs would be better.
yes, yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be great.
So do we want to add, well, we have to, we're looking to amend this.
That's what I'm saying, if we're gonna, if we might as well go ahead and add that in there, just given the concern of looking at the green and blue and, I mean, if it's not what we're gonna get, let's not put on the rendering, you know?
wanted to clarify in our document while we're amending it, the color palette and the percentages used. That's fine, but with a blue, I can't, that doesn't match our residents around the area.
No.
That's not what we discussed. I heard you say that, don't worry, it will be that, but I want to approve it as it will be.
So that, I think we would just need some input on, I guess, what colors aren't allowed. And I don't want it to be too restrictive. I mean, obviously, we're going to build something tasteful, but I don't want to be just limited down to such specific colors.
I think Sandra spoke to it well, that we need to blend well with our residents and our neighbors. I think in that area of the city, that's what we're going for.
I'd be all for adding some sort of verbiage that says the color palette for these townhomes is to closely match the surrounding homes.
residential.
I think there's enough diversity in colors of those homes that will limit us.
That's pretty ambiguous though.
Yeah.
You need to put something more specific as far as.
How would you word it, like, you know,
Like
earth tones?
earth tone, the surrounding areas are more neutral.
Pungent colors.
Yeah, what, how you define pungent?
It's all subjective, so we have to be very careful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what if we said, I'm not an architect, I'm not
Come
design.
on, you can be creative.
When the homes are in the similar style as your commercial. Because right now they're totally different.
But I feel like that commercial's gonna be black and white. I feel like the townhouses could have
Well,
some
it'll be
colors.
cream if it's like.
I feel like greens would look good in there. Taupes.
Taupes, yes.
And your building for your commercial is green, is it not?
I think it's shown as maybe an off-white, yes, so maybe cream off-white, something like that.
It's just like the one at Dollar General, it's green with black.
You don't need to put sunglasses on to look.
I don't know if legally there's anything that the state allows us to pick colors for residences either.
That's what I was
Not so
gonna
much
ask.
The state allows you to give a direction for kind of the city entrance as far as, like certain parts of Rogers, they have to stick to a color palette, or they can have a sign above a certain height.
I don't know if anything about the state of the color palette. The only place I know that does that is the list and it's only to the POA.
Yeah.
I don't know if any city does that.
Because I know even Walmart at times has to change their color of their building
Maybe
to abide by.
Like the Pinnacle Walmart is different than the other
Yeah.
neighborhoods.
I understand the reasoning for the request. I think it's,
We're gonna do anything.
we're not, it's difficult to do. I think it is difficult also to,
Just not the colors
Okay.
of print out.
yeah.
Well, I don't, we definitely need to say that it needs to be similar, compatible to the surrounding residential.
I'm fine with that, yeah. That won't change what we're planning to do. Yeah.
That being said, anybody in that subdivision can go paint their home any color in that.
Well, maybe so, but we don't
But they
need to
have
start
to,
out that way.
yeah.
Yeah, and I know, I'm
And that's
not, I'm
much
just,
more
the
visible.
reality of the situation, you know, is that. And we do have things that, you know, stay, you know, what we've been stating as far as match surrounding, you know, whatever, I think that's good.
And if we start off with it that way and the POA restricts, you know, doing crazy things, then it'll be okay.
I don't want a Darth Vader or hot purple pink house next to me
Yeah.
either. It ain't my house.
They like it in Hyde Park though.
And,
Like,
you know,
Those are
Spring
bright.
Grove is a little bit more into a subdivision blending in, but it's right there coming into the city.
and not everybody
First
likes
impressions
all
are
those
everything.
colors.
Yeah. I get it, and ultimately too, we don't want them to look bad because we want to sell them. Yeah. So we have some skin in the game on that too.
Yes.
But for me, the materials were the most important thing, so as long as you follow what's in the
Yeah.
PCA.
And the PZD will be referenced whenever we go to pull a building permit. They'll look at it and make sure that the percentages are matched on what's actually built.
That's important.
So maybe I did misspoke in that the renderings don't reflect those percentages.
Yeah.
But they will have
Others,
to.
the renderings have been closer to what they're representing, so it makes it easier to sign off and say, yep, okay,
Yeah.
got it. So this is a little more difficult.
Yeah.
So maybe you have prettier pictures for the next.
Yeah.
More intended pictures.
David, my expectation is we have written documentation from McClellan or staff that itemizes what's still, if there's still some open-ended things that might be related to engineering scope. I'd like to see that written down. It doesn't need to be in infinite detail, but it can be bullet pointed that gives us the highlights of what is outstanding. I do not, from my opinion, want to get into a conditional unless we have all that in front of us, since this is what is indeed outstanding. I don't want to leave loose ends to be passed along.
Did y'all get the PCD with the comments?
I uploaded it to the drive.
Yeah, I think it's in the drive. You should have access. How about that?
Yeah.
Y'all should have access to the PCD. Again,
Got
it came in late
Yeah,
in the last week, so that they haven't had time to respond to it yet.
my point is if there's things in 2 weeks
Yes.
that has moved, what's the update of what's moved? What's still pending at that time, at the time of the meeting, which is that first Monday in May?
Yes.
And we can bring that, provide that. We've got the comments back, which should be the final round. Several of them are just questions that are easily answered, and so it's only a handful of them that are a discussion still. Clint, is that something we can do? Just bring a list? Yeah.
So I'm expecting that to see that data.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, the biggest outstanding item is legally, how the site for the lift station is going to be handled. I think that was some of the biggest concerns, that we were trying to hash through. And then just the design of the lift station and making sure that the storm and everything else were in that. Fire chief was there. In the meeting we had, both works, all set.
How does that, if the lift station were removed, adding a new building, are we accounting for that in the PCD somehow, or would we just be coming back in for a new commercial building at that point?
The land is still zoned commercial per the PZD. That's how it was approved. That change came later, so it's still commercial land that's approved for that, and the parking, everything can fit. It just was removed because of the lift station.
Does the PCD not state the square footage of the buildings or the number of buildings for commercial use?
It says buildings.
But it's less intense, I just think that was something we didn't worry about before as far as. And going back to what his intent with the land is, in the future, they still want to be able to potentially have commercial building there. So I don't think any of us thought it was necessary to revise the PZD from a commercial land use standpoint.
I don't know, for the PCD, but we looked at it for the number of buildings that were being shown to us on the plan when we were making that recommendation.
If I remember correctly, I think the PZD was approved before that second building was removed. Does that sound right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
So
that would still be
the intent illustrates 2 buildings.
The maximum is still stated, yes. It doesn't have to have that, but it can only have up to that.
Less, it's less, not more.
Yeah, it's less than.
That's, as long as we've got a commercial PCD.
Yeah, I thought so. Maybe I didn't understand.
No issues coming back in.
Yeah.
Whenever the time is right.
Yeah. Now, the PZD does reflect both the buildings in there.
And it's building 2 that's dropped out because of the lift station.
Correct.
there's 6 buildings with 4 units and 2 buildings with 5.
Correct. 34 units total.
It may be here, but is there an updated, land layout that shows the buildings and?
Site plan, yes, it should be.
But I don't know if this is.
I did print out 2 copies, but I didn't print out.
See, you could bring it up on my.
Is
Can I look
it
at that?
for
Yeah.
this one? Yes. Those are the 2. There's this.
It disappeared on me. So, yeah, this will work. No problem.
Is that just open space then?
Correct.
So that'll have to be.
Yes,
There
that
used
back
to
is
be
so.
another building here, but see, this is what I had at this next system, so. Oh yeah, that's the one.
But this is easier to see.
And that's not happening.
No.
Okay, yeah, so this is completely go away just slightly.
This is bigger.
Oh, okay.
But we still have the exit and entrance on, 264.
Yes, yeah. So there's one for the first one forward and 264.
So those haven't changed.
No.
At the turn
Turn
lane.
lane.
You know what? I'm thinking about this a little bit more, the clarity of the PZD, and so what I would say is maybe in section D, let's, because we're calling out the changes there, we still have a total lot size, 10,000 square foot, but each one's gonna be specify each individual sellable unit has these features. You know, like we're still keeping the table, but then add to that table, it says something like individual sellable unit, which is back to the intent. Like we're adding that clarity, we're adding the layer of clarity, and then in there, the statement of, for clarity, 34 sellable units per, or whatever the quadplexes and the fiveplexes.
But each of those sellable units is gonna have a legal description.
Well, it
It's
will,
gonna
but what
have
I'm
a
saying
Lot
is-
size, not be 10,000.
It will, but it's just to add that we're talking about the PZD. Just, I'm trying to figure out how to make sure this is clear.
So maybe if
Not,
we-
that it's, again, clear to council.
Yeah.
What this is.
So if we just change what's existing on the PZD, the original one, to
It's,
the total building size can be these dimensions, the lot size within that can be this.
yeah, like, we're just showing that granularity to it, because that's what we're trying to get to. The intent hasn't ever changed. And don't want it to come across that we are trying to change things up, and make it confusing, and just want to show that we're just adding more definement to it, depth to it,
Less general.
less, get rid of it and try to remove any ambiguity that they may perceive, right, or anyone else may perceive.
Okay, but since their proposed request says to change the lot size, minimum lot size to 2,000 instead of 10,000, we just need to be consistent.
Yeah. Right, that's why I'm having this conversation, is how do we make this, which is still not changed really fundamentally,
Right.
we're just
We
adding,
just need to asterisk that 10,000.
or add another table
Define
underneath
it.
there to define that,
Yeah.
in that table.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So I think that's, so can we get that this amended, so that's what we have in front of us for the actual not the letter, but take this PZD document we have that illustrates that.
That's Clint, as long as you can write that down.
I just
can
want
understand it.
utmost clarity.
Yeah.
So this goes to the council, that they see exactly what the changes are very clearly. And then if any member of the public sees it as well, they understand very clearly that we just added the further definition to the intent, right? We're just clarifying the legal aspects of it, basically.
Would you like it plotted? I mean, just show this is the change.
You can provide the file when we were helpful on, you know, the full PCD document, but we will need like a full PCD document at some point, you know, for the actual option for it. But having the cloud changes would be more than actually helpful. Yeah.
What I want to do is set it up for success. I don't want to set it up for 25 more questions.
Yeah.
Post here, that it's, the message is clear.
Yeah.
Right.
That works for us.
So make the changes to PZD, that table, but then add the set number of sellable units. Then go into the color palette to something in there, right? That was that color palettes, defining that a little bit, at least have some tie it to the surrounding existing homes, residential homes. And then make sure the elevations represent what's in the PZD. What else? Just while we're here doing the events. That's what I've jotted down.
Well, and to continue to have, because in the PGD, it also has the amount of exits and the turning lane and all of that remains the way it is.
That's correct. The intents are all there illustrated with that. Now, we've lost a building from the original, but the building could go back. That's the intent, right? The commercial building.
And the turn is specified in the documents.
I think that's
Oh, yeah.
It's shown right here.
And that would also be called out on the site development plan,
Right.
which would be on that next voting meeting as well. So I think to do it clean, we'll do the rezone first, and then move forward with that site development plan that's got everything with the preliminary plat page on there showing the lots. Just, that's backed up by the rezone, so it doesn't just stand alone.
Right. David, you have anything else to add?
No, I think that covers the concerns as far as the zero lot lines. You know, those parcels being able to be sold individually. And again, anything we can do to make it clear, you know, that we're just trying to follow that and make the changes clear to where we can have, you know, no one doing, you know, just compare, you know, cloud instead of whatever it is. Super beneficial, so, I agree.
Did you have anything else? Comment?
Do we anticipate any screening between this development and the adjacent neighborhood? Due to the higher density?
To the south,
To the east?
to the east, the privacy fence that's there, if it,
On your property or on that property?
it's existing, so I don't know necessarily whose property it's on, but it would remain.
Is that fence part of the POA, Brentwood, or
It
is it?
is. It's Brentwood POA fence, but typically there would be some kind of screening plantings required. If the code allows for only a fence, generally that person will put the fence up as well because the adjacent property could remove it or it could be damaged.
Mhm.
And just looking at your landscape plan, there's nothing planned down there. I mean, you have something at the hammerhead.
The Brentwood POA maintains the fence. Because, you know, I get the same situation in my subdivision, but the POA made the fence each individual property owner's responsibility.
Yours is, it's a wonky one, they selectively made part of them POA paid for and replacing part of them by the POA. I don't have a rhyme or reason for the logic.
And part not, so it might be important if any of them on that line are ones that are not gonna be maintained by the POA. Theoretically, a homeowner could take the fence down.
It may be worth reaching out to find out.
Okay.
I mean, you don't want their backyard is.
No, I mean, if we were to,
I've seen those backyards.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, no, I did.
we would want the fence for our sake, and if it were to need some work, we could fix it.
Would that be built into the POA for Summerlin Village? That component?
I think they're maintaining landscaping and exterior fences, correct, in POA.
Correct, yes.
Then they would maintain it, but.
If the POA for Summerlin can have control of that fence, that's better for
Well,
us.
I don't think
Yeah, I just don't, yeah,
No,
I think you would need to install your own, is what I'm saying.
just
You need
right
to
next to
install
it.
your own fence or your own, like, vegetative. There needs to be a screen provided by this development, to screen your development from the existing single-family residential.
Okay.
And
I think that just goes back to the consistency that we're talking about, that when you're driving in, everything looks very consistent, nothing's sticking out, nothing.
I think it would be important to know if that whole
Well, and
fence
it's-
row of Brentwoods is the
You
POA's.
can reach out to the POA board.
Okay.
I think it was put up by the POA, I think we're all pretty aware of that.
No, I don't know that, I don't.
Well, yeah.
Oh, you're
they
talking
all-
about the south fence?
Well, I mean, I would say all of it, yeah, considering.
The south we
fence
have
that
is
wasn't on the
street.
property.
The south, we have a street that separates it, but what I'm saying on the east is you're backing up to those homes, you're a higher density level. In any other area of our city, an incompatible use would require screening. So I would like a screen there.
Yeah, that's
Be a
right.
good neighbor, because we're saying to these people, we're gonna put this higher dense property right in your backyard, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you have any windows or anything on that side, but they would be looking down into their backyards, which I don't think is, friendly. So I think that.
I'm not opposed to,
It's only one unit on each side, so it would be the exact same as having homes adjacent,
It's
but
not.
actually less, because there's only one unit on the end. And if it was the subdivision, you would potentially have 4 two-story homes where 4 people could look in the back of each other's yards, but this would only be one unit. And so there's technically only 2 homes there that could even look into those.
And the
Or maximum.
elevations do not illustrate at least windows.
I'm more so speaking to the density level. It's a higher density, it's an incompatible use. This is not single family, this is multifamily. If we're calling it single family, that's a high density right next to them. So we're having multiple vehicles, so we have how many units down there? Whereas you might have only 4 homes if it were a subdivision, you have how many vehicles driving down that direction with their lights shining in those neighbors? It needs a screen. That's-
I don't have any problem with that. If we
it
can,
would be consistent across the city, it would require a screen.
yeah, if we can fix the fence or maintain it, we're happy to. We want it to look good before we sell them anyways. Yeah.
I think the fence is property of that neighborhood, you can confirm with the POA, but I'm thinking on your development, you need to handle your own screen.
Okay.
I don't see any sense in 2 fences side by side.
Yeah.
But like vegetation or.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not opposed
something
at all to
so
some
that
trees
it's
on that
soft.
side.
You have some plants back there by your hammerhead, but then that's it. And it doesn't carry to the front, so as Sandra mentioned, like coming into the city, this is like the first multifamily situation or denser piece. So it would be nice to take care of that whole full length of the property there.
You know, it's just three homes in that cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
So if we showed maybe a tree behind each one of the homes, that's,
Something.
yeah, no, I'm completely fine with that.
I think just something so we're being a good neighbor.
Yeah. We're,
Tree considered a screen? If it's
Yes.
an evergreen
Yeah.
tree. Depending on the type of tree, and given the space constraints that
Right,
are
I would have
probably
a space, take more than one.
But like, over near Otter Creek where that development went in, and they have a screen, and it's commercial, of course. This has a commercial element in it as well, but it is higher dense. Just maybe a better design.
I think my request on that would be if we could just get some more clear direction of what you're requesting between now and the voting meeting, so we can try to incorporate that into plans. We're all on the same page. We want to make it look good, and the screening I'm fine with. We just need to know what will satisfy that.
I would say a vegetated screen, so evergreens back there, but you're the developer, it's what you want to do to screen it.
Okay.
I
We've
don't
got a
think
lot
we
of
have
trees in the.
power fence for the screen as well. That's just not how it's done normally.
Yep. Throw some more trees in there.
Okay. Good. Ladies, anything else? Okay, so we got clarity on the PZD amendment, what is really being amended with that same table D, the elevations, closed out on those, and clarity on the screening. I think that's the items that we talked about in terms of the PZD, and then between now and the public hearing today of what is still the outstanding engineering items, so that we have a copy of that.
I was
Nico, you got anything?
I think that's it.
All right.
I think we're close on this one. About to be done with this.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Alright, so now we can circle back to Ford Lane, 850 Ford Lane, 6 parcels, around about 77 acres, and rezone. I believe the applicant is here now.
Sorry for not getting here on time. We were out in the parking lot discussing. So at the last meeting, I think I got a pretty clear message from this board that you all do not have the appetite for R3 zoning here. What we would like to discuss today is we want to try to do something to meet in the middle. At R2, we simply can't make the project work. It's not possible. And so what we are proposing is a mix between R3 and R2 zonings so that we can reduce the overall amount of lots that would be allowed. I have here, and y'all can pass these around. I'll take one for myself. This first plan is what we were initially hoping for. And then this second plan is something that we have drawn up as a mix between R3 and R2 zoning. And being this is a work session, I would love to get some feedback on that. And if we can get a little bit of feedback on some revised plans, then we can get something drawn up for a revised rezoning request and bring that in front of you all at the next meeting.
As long as it's not R2.5.
And so you will see on this revised layout that we have taken several blocks. I believe it's about 4 blocks of R3 housing and swapped that out with larger lots. And those are all around 30,000 square foot lots, so 3/4 of an acre. And so this gives the neighborhood sort of a mix between small, medium, and large lots. It'd be kind of a non-standard type of layout that will give the neighborhood some more character and give some more green space. You'll also see with the revised plan that there is a very large open area here on the east side that we could use for neighborhood amenities or just open space.
So you're going from the first one had 250 total lots to now 172?
Yes. And so essentially, if this reduction is makes you all feel more comfortable with the development here, then we can redraw our zoning request and have a portion of it to be zoned as R2.
Still, my biggest concern is the traffic and the capacity of the surrounding units.
Because R2, wouldn't it have been around like 100 lots versus the 172 that you have now? Or then it was around 100?
Yeah, it'd be like 80.
80.
It'd be
Yeah.
like 80, but the problem is that we wouldn't be able to pay for the sewer. Like, we wouldn't be able to pay for the lift station with 80 lots.
Have you guys done a traffic study? Do you know what the?
Yeah, the traffic study is
Oh, it's
Nathan
happening right
Beckman.
now. Okay.
Yeah, it's happening right now, it's taking him a minute, but he's analyzing not just our development, but all of Ford Lane, so that we can have something to take to RDOT to say, hey, we really need a light here, you know? And what he's gonna do is give proportional, traffic from each development, so that you guys can go back to those developers and go to us and say, hey, you're contributing this percentage to it, this is how much you should probably pay for the light, right?
Yeah.
It'll definitely help the city out tremendously.
I went and drove the other day and I really didn't see a lot of traffic. I don't even think I saw another car, but it was difficult to get on 264. But I wouldn't say that it was because there was so much traffic on Ford, but rather 264 has a lot of cars coming
How
down.
day did you go?
4 o'clock. I didn't see one other car.
So that again,
I went and drove the other day down to Ford and just kind of like looked at the area, drove through the other subdivision, Hillcrest, right? And I just wanted to see what else was going on. And I literally didn't even see one other car at 4 o'clock. It was like after I picked up my kids from school, I just drove back through there. I do feel like it's hard to get out on 264, so I feel like that was difficult because 264 has a lot of traffic.
Try
So it
another
might be-
later at 5.
It's probably something that I feel like a light would really help, but as far as like a lot of people going up and down Ford, I didn't personally see
You
that.
can't
That's what I
necessarily
wanted to
just
see.
today, because there's also already approved about isn't it about 500 homes that are gonna be going
No.
in between two?
No, between all of these, there might be 500 homes.
Well,
So still
that's-
300.
that's
For all,
the
but
point.
there's not, there's like, Hillcrest is like 114, the other one was like 70 something, and this one is less than 200.
I'm talking about the two new ones.
Midwest and the
So, well, that's the other side.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, we were
I
at
wanted to see
3
the
hours
road
walking that
conditions,
subdivision,
and I
and
wanted
stood in the
to
middle
look
of
at
the road,
everything that
and
everyone was talking about, and
there wasn't any traffic.
Well,
last time.
So I have driven this. I've driven Ford and Brown every day for the last multiple weeks. Every day, different times of the day. And, I brought up last work session about the roads, just the egress and ingress in that area, and how we're gonna handle it. Because the roads were dirt roads at one point in time, not too long ago. And Brown just doesn't move traffic like it probably needs to. And it's how does that get addressed? Ford, everything moving towards from Ford to 264, Eastern Avenue, that makes the logical sense. But what I'm seeing too is people are gonna start looking for other paths.
go back to the other.
And they're going the other way. I'll tell you tonight, at about 5:15 is when I passed through. So I went Brown from Lowell, all the way from Spring Creek, and took Brown all the way again today. And I met 6 vehicles between the low water bridge and the three-way stop. And there was 2 people that I wanted a set of strips to throw out in front of them as fast as they were going. They were flying. But Brown, just north of that low water bridge, is Springdale. Springdale has no plans to do anything with that. So it's kind of a dead end. Like, so if we had that conversations about people going out Brown, right, and moving towards Springdale, it's going to funnel into nothing like it is right now. Basically 1.5 lanes. So that's really not an egress. My big concern is not necessarily the rezoning, but the density of how do we get people in and out of there safely. We can talk about all the time about people's intent to go towards down 4 to the north, the 264. But people aren't, how are they going to do that? And the big difference between this parcel and the further we get down, the further corner we get in that corner is we're moving, people are going to try to go the opposite directions of how we're wanting them to move without a plan of how do we get Brown wider, moving towards the west, or some type of solution paired up with Springdale on how that traffic from Brown then hits. They're not going to take Brown to lower, because that's 1.5 lanes.
Right.
It's going towards further to the west, and that takes you to 112 or Wagon Wheel or however that winds around.
Because the Ziegler Way, I don't think is feasible because it's such a windy, twisty, narrow road.
Go back to the maps.
Well, so I want to point out there's a couple of things going on here. One, this whole area is zoned for medium to, or it all has the same land use designation.
Yeah.
And so what's kind of happened through, I don't think anyone's fault. It's just what has happened factually is that we have a larger property than a lot of the ones that have been proposed recently, and we're also 5th in line. So had we come in 2 years ago and asked for R3, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation because we wouldn't have those other subdivisions in the pipeline. So that's going on. And what we are trying to do is we're trying to meet in the middle here between getting the same zoning that everyone else has asked for, but also reducing it a certain amount to where you all are more comfortable with the density. The other issue going on here is that the fact that the way that our property is geographically situated between all these roads, there's nothing we can do about that. And I hate to say that out loud, but I think we all know that. And so there's a certain point at which if we can't fix that, we're not going to allow any development. It's just to say that nothing can be built here, which I also don't think is the correct answer either. So again, this is our best attempt to try to meet y'all in the middle and do a little bit of the lower density and the higher density to reduce the traffic counts a little bit, but also to make the project work.
I don't know, maybe my statement is maybe that density is in that quadrant. In fact, we debated over this in the past. Maybe that residential medium density is wrong.
Maybe, and sometimes timing is everything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're right. You're not the first one to ask. But I think, and this is happening all over Northwest Arkansas, the roads need to be done before the development of the homes. And I don't think Cave Springs has the money to do that, so I realize we need the developers to help with that. But I'm just afraid that we're overbuilding ourselves to.
Well, they're not going to get done if you don't have the developments.
That's the thing. What I think
the money.
The majority is acreage in there though, that are farms. And
Well, my issue is with the roads, and is more, the roads can be developed, is the right of way. What doesn't exist in this quadrant is right of ways. And so, this is like I mentioned this the other day, there's people want better roads, but they don't want to give up right of way to do
Sure,
that.
yeah, absolutely.
And that's the stickler part, is how do we, as a community, correct that issue?
Eminent domain.
Well,
You have to upset some people, I think.
then that creates another problem, okay? And so, how do we do that doesn't become so disruptive in the community that everyone, again, it's a community, we're building a community. And so how do we do that with care to get in the same direction? You know, moving to, I don't think anybody, I'm speaking out loud, don't want to put words in your mouth. I don't think anybody really disagrees with the development and the idea here.
No.
It's how do we safely move these people without creating new frustrations for them? I mean, they're going to move in here, they're going to deal with this every day. You gentlemen are not going to deal with it every day. You're going to deal with it through the construction phase and the conveyance of the property. But once that's done, it's the people that are here day in, day out, driving it all hours of the day. Kaylee's exactly right. I've driven in the middle of the day and I hardly meet anybody on Ford. But I can tell you, between 7 and 8 a.m., it's busy down Ford. I can tell you in the evening it's busy down Ford. I can tell you during certain times during the weekend it's busy on Ford and Brown. And what I can tell you is I'm starting to see that people explore, much like they've done Puppy Creek, right? Puppy Creek was a dirt road. Nobody went down that by the quarry.
What about 612? Like,
Well,
aren't they improving that connection on Wagon Wheel?
They have to get to 6.
They have to get to Wagon Wheel. That's the thing is, so to get to Wagon Wheel, you gotta go down Brown Road into Springdale, across that low water bridge, or it's just a pass, right? Concrete pass. And then go down Ziegler to get to Wagon Wheel.
Right.
And then you have to go to the highways in order to get to.
Yeah, and Springdale has no plan at this moment in time that I'm aware of to improve Brown and Ziegler to Wagon Wheel. That's what I'm saying. It's like if there's more of a component to this, is it's outside of our jurisdiction as well. And I mentioned this the other day when we first did this PZD and with Hillcrest subdivision, we had an intent to get into Burdine. There was an intent. Well, it was an intent to get there, but then we ran into a big hurdle. It was not right on Lowell's boundary. So there was some initial plaques that was shared that showed where that road lay, and it looked like it was something we could connect to from the city. We could work something out. And then we find out there's a gap there. Okay? And so that created a new problem, right? So that's how the Hillcrest situation, because there was multiple healthy debates and going over engineering and where is the boundaries specifically, because there was some old surveys that didn't say that's where things were at. You know how some of the century-old surveys were, and I know you deal with this all the time, and you find these disparities. And so there were several of those situations. So now we're stuck in this corner. We're painted in a corner. How do we work our way out of this painted in corner?
I don't feel like Burdine's the answer.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not. I'm talking about Hillcrest. I'm using it as a reference.
Yeah, I got you.
That was when Hillcrest went in. That was an intent to move traffic to displace it from Ford and 264. How do we separate that and create separation instead of funneling everybody to the same point? And what I see here and what we're seeing is we're funneling everybody to the same point without a good way to get them in and out of there. Am I wrong?
No, you're right. That's
Well, that's a
exactly
problem
the
just
problem.
with subdivisions nowadays as opposed to a block system. I mean, we intentionally let subdivisions get built in these ways, and they're not a lot system where there's straight roads that you can go through. But then we don't want straight roads because we want traffic calming, people move slowly and stuff, so, yeah. It's a,
Very
it's
tough.
interesting conundrum.
Well,
So we'll say
that's
that
two that's been approved.
from a city standpoint, we are looking at adding, traffic impact fees to the impact fees we already had. And it would be for situations like this, so, the city could go in and group these areas in between subdivisions where, subdivisions have gone in and done their required improvements through the city's code. If you account for the previous Summerlin Village proposal, and if you account for this one, the whole east side of Ford Lane is essentially as improved as it's going to be, minus barely a quarter mile. Me and Will went out there, you wanted me to go out there with them and kind of look at and talked about what was being proposed on the Works Director. And, once we got to looking at it, it's like, well, here's Hillcrest, they barely have to do any, road improvements. Here's where this one goes from Hillcrest down to here, there's those road improvements. It's like you have the proposal at the top that's looking at putting in a turning lane, and then it's like, we went and added it all up, it's like barely a quarter mile that's left on the east side of
Excuse me.
improvements that need to be put in, for you to have a fully improved street section, all the way down forward.
But correct me if
And
I'm
then
wrong,
if you look at the west side, where the chicken houses are being proposed, you have a fully improved street section of the entire church property, and then you add the chicken house property to that, essentially the entire west side forward is also fully improved. So you have barely a quarter mile on the east side that needs improvements left, and basically all of half of the west side that would be improved.
just to clarify, when you're saying improvements, it's still a two-lane road, just wider, no additional.
It would follow our street, or our, street map.
Master
Master
street plan.
plan.
So it's not that more volume can go out at one time, it's just they have more space in their lane. I'm not sure that fixes a whole lot of what our problem is.
Well,
No, just look at the
Nice.
nice.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think you need a 4-lane there or anything, and I think there's enough room for a 3-lane.
Three.
With the turning lane, I think it is called out as a collector, which allows for that with the width. But, you can see, Rogers is taking 4-lane down Pinnacle, in the middle of Pinnacle, turning to 2 lanes, and there's no traffic issues there. As far as, major problems that you have.
I think they have a different goal for that though.
So, again, does this layout make y'all feel any more comfortable? Then what will make you all feel more comfortable? Is there any changes or anything that we can suggest?
I do appreciate the effort you put into it at this point. It's a tough situation that we have.
I mean, again, we've listened to what you all have said, and we're not trying to come and cram something down your throats. What we want to do is figure out what everyone's comfortable with and get something done.
In my opinion, I'm happy with R2. Until we have some additional entrances and exits onto 264.
So I will say that when we did the future land use map, the latest update, we had just rezoned back there to an R2 for the other properties that were held back there together. And that was our latest known one, was they were coming in as an R2. So that may give you a little bit of information as to why we're adding more lots and we're changing the zoning, requesting it to go even denser whenever we had pause it going R2. So that now we're wanting to add more back there, and we still don't have the traffic figured out. So I think that's, while yes, we do have the future land use map, we we had just rezoned it R2, and the intent was it was gonna be R2.
I'm anticipating in these smaller lots that are to the west, central or west, there's gonna have to be some type of drainage provisions in there, because is there not, like, the topography?
Yeah.
Topography to the west, it's very.
This is all highly conceptual. This is
Yeah,
we're just kind of giving y'all some general ideas of lot sizes and configurations that we might do with a combination of R3 and R2. I suspect that yes. I mean, I know that there is a possibility of using this large open area to the east, as some of it as a detention pond. I don't anticipate that we need all of it. And then
Yeah, so like the northeast corner would be an amenity area. Gene and I have been talking about it, possibly some sort of
Pickleball or just, you know,
something.
Yeah.
Parking area.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna get trails in here, you know, but this is just very high level. If I go in and draw trails and stuff and spend an hours,
No, I
we
was
need to have this high.
I was more curious about on the western side. So, I know part of that is flat, and then part of that is you transition from the west to the east.
Right.
Your topography's starting to drop, and you're dropping to the south against Brown, right, to down that way. So, I would anticipate there's got to be some type of drainage provisions
If you
and
look
green
at-
space in there.
Yeah, like 42 and 43, probably 44, that's where we would have to burn some if we needed to throw in like an entrance pond, right? And we could capture everything to the west and bring it down to the south, kind of where that intersection of Brown Road would be. So it would be some sort of like grand entrance, if you will. We'd also use it as detention. And then we also own property to the south here, it's just more like an access easement, that we would be able to run down to get it over to the drainage on the eastern side. There's like an 80 lot disparity between going from R3 to, you know, this mixed use R2 zoning, and that's based on geometry. It's not really, we can't really make the roads work to where there's 190 lots or 200 lots. It's 250 and then immediately goes to 170 just because of our roads need to line up with what's existing out there. But I do think this gives us a good mix of smaller lots in the front, medium-sized lots in the middle, and then large lots on the eastern side. And then, of course, we have amenities and everything that go off to the eastern side.
Jason,
Yeah.
it looks like the water's running to the south and away from everything, and it is. But it's also got some red zones that are recharge areas that are high harshness. A lot of that's going to be dictated by the main because of the red zones. A lot of the drainage and stuff will be dictated as far as detention and what kind of ponds are used and whether they're bleaching type and all of that will be based on because of the high recharge area, high intensity. I looked at it on the map the other day and even though looks like it's running away, it actually seeps into the ground and comes back.
We, of course, will treat the water quality and all that. We'll go out there and clean, but we're not digging into that right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's not part of your zoning, but that is part of the discussion you were in,
Well, it affects us.
and it does.
So did you say you were only looking at 170 homes? I don't have a map or what y'all have.
Well, so this is,
Here,
I'll show you.
instead of two.
We tried to kind of incorporate a mix of R3 and R2 to reduce the density on a portion of the property. And what that ended up with is we just there were some of those, and we took some of those out and put in larger lots. So that's, I mean, again, this is not a development plan. What you end up seeing is a two color blobs in the revised rezoning request.
Do we foresee this would go in as a phased development?
We're going to have two, I mean, once we get, we're like in two, 3 phases.
So basically,
I was thinking it would stair step the transition to all the additional buildings.
oh.
You
as far
know,
as these things. No, I mean,
why it's a little
well,
more time to get there.
yeah.
It might buy us a little more time to get there.
Depends on the, yeah, they did,
Full build out, if we start.
separate years, yeah.
Full build out would be 5 years.
Yeah.
If we started today engineering and going for approvals, and went with a 3 or 4 phase layout, we could potentially be 5 years to completion.
Looking at this,
So I mean, realistically, you're only showing 2.2 units per acre.
Yeah, this is a pretty low density if you really.
So I mean, that's like, and R2 allows for 6/10 of an acre.
Yes, 16.
And so this is like 5.5 tenths, or 5.5, 4.5 units per acre.
Yeah, something like,
let's visualize this.
something like that.
Way along.
I want to kind of guess.
So like I said, this has the added value of the blend, so you have
Yeah.
smaller lots up front, you've got multiple price points, which is really good for mixed development, you know what I mean?
But it's, yeah.
Benefits from the amenities.
I'm kind of sketching out.
They're in a high cost area.
Yeah, just kind of,
Yeah.
yeah, so, I got it right here.
Because that was the thing that was meeting there, that was having that conversation. I was like, I didn't think they were that high. And then looked it up. I was like, oh, no, they
Yeah,
are.
so I mean,
Well, I knew they were in the area, but that far out and that drain off the back, I didn't think it was like extremely high. And it wasn't.
if I'm looking at this correctly, one of you gentlemen is a lot smarter than I am, if you come up here.
Definitely not smarter than you.
I don't know.
Look at your pretty
I like to surround myself with smart people. I don't want to be the smartest one in the room. So if I am looking at this correctly,
Yes.
these are the high intensity parts area according to that map. That kind of what I recall. So this is going to have some implications on how this all goes together.
Well, and full disclosure, in between now and the next meeting, we'll be looking into your karst regulations to make sure that we don't end up having to come back and ask for another rezoning. So we are going to do our homework on that. We don't necessarily have any. Yes.
We have our environmental meeting tomorrow, so they're supposed to be looking into what the implications are here, but we didn't want to move it forward if we didn't have any kind of route, you know what I mean? But that's why we were thinking, detention pond needs to go over here, then of course we can use this area for trails and stuff, and then we already have a pond over here, why not keep that, make that some sort of amenity, existing, and then over here, if we need another pond, this seems like it's in the right spot for another pond. Be burdened with maybe 1 or 2 lots. It makes sense. That's what it is, you know what I mean? This is our old layout.
Okay.
It's essentially what you're doing.
So going off memory here, just going on that, laying it over.
Another thing too is we'll board this and make sure that it's accurate. You know what I mean? This is drawn off LiDAR, and so this might not be that extensive. It could be smaller, it could be larger in areas, but we won't know that until we do some geotech. But we're pretty sure about this region, we're pretty sure about right here, so it's just more than what happens in the outskirts.
Where I kind of go back to is if we compromise on this property, is there a property within Cave Springs? I feel like this is the one that feels more like sticking to the guns of what the current zoning would be. And from here after, I'm not sure there's others that wouldn't be in a worse position than this one.
Another thing to think about is this lot, obviously these two lots are buildable. This lot and this lot's gonna be your lift station this season, so pretty much burning those two lots, no matter what you do out here. Or some variation, you're gonna have to have a lot down here that's burned, and you're gonna have to have a lot right here that's burned. And so that's going to start the geometry up here, no matter what you do. This doesn't matter so much in that aspect. So we're keeping the overall density pretty low.
Is it gonna be lower than the 172, you think?
Well, we're gonna have 172 plus several unbuildable lots. I think we're gonna certainly have to burn 2 for lift stations and then possibly have to burn 1 for retention.
I got 172 total, 5 unbuildable, so really it's 167 buildable.
167.
So it's, you see what I'm saying?
And that would be until we find something else that burns a couple more lots.
Oh, definitely.
So you're talking 5 to 7 lots, probably gonna be removed.
Certainly 5, based on this plan. If we drew this up and were able to comply with the regulations and submit this exact plan, then 5 as of now would be unbuildable. And this is, by the way, I forgot to make introductions. This is Gene Nicholas, this is the owner of the land. And then Hunter, you met before, and me as well.
What's the total acreage again?
78.02 or something, 78 acres.
And that includes that little, that's included in that.
And if it, you know, we're not opposed if it helps to slow it down, as long as we can get to some, you know, obviously we're gonna have an upfront cost of this lift station. We would wanna try to front load a few of the lots and the phases to slow it down over a period of time, because we don't have to build it tomorrow. We can build it over a 5-year plan, and then be in a capacity to hopefully give everybody time to stay 612, some of these other roads to come online. I mean, Airport Boulevard comes online this year, right?
That's correct.
You're gonna see some people start getting off of 412, I feel like, or 264, I feel like, and start to hit the 612, it catch that going down there, right?
That would be, yeah,
I mean,
yes, what you're saying is, yes, what their studies don't show is then the development that goes along with it.
Yeah.
Replaces, it's just we're doing a replacement.
Yeah. And then what the roundabout on 264 on east of town, that should help kind of slow some traffic, to give some gaps in the traffic, on this end, right?
Well, how do you get there?
How
do you get there?
We
You
don't.
have to go around, or you have to go forward. That's really your options. Nobody would go up Zedler.
No, yeah, you're gonna have to use the main road, but you're gonna be stuck, that's the main drag through this community, and hopefully, you know, the repairs and upgrades do come in time. You know they're not gonna come tomorrow, but what's it gonna be in 5 years?
that's what lies the problem, is that have two roads.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, what is it? So there's that. Yeah, the water. We need to talk about it. Well, it's certainly, that they don't have any plan to improve any of this. As soon as we've got development from them, well, it depends on too, or are they have anything in this?
Floodplain, yeah, down there in the bottom, there's no, and the other side's floodplain too. You know, really, they built everything that is, higher ground, at the bottom is nothing. Springdale's not growing for that direction.
This is just about 1.5 million to get.
Yeah, they're widening this now, or, coming up, where they're laying the new 72-inch water line by the sharps. This is our square, backside, right? Where's the little one? Which one? Going across, Spring Creek, it's right here. So they're kind of redoing some of this now. And rebuilding this road up the county line.
And see if we could, with Springdale, like there's all this subdivision is all here. This gets the million dollars. This could make sense for them to get some improvements getting it from.
I think this all like floodplain and real bad. I mean, that one, yeah, on that side.
But I've been driving all of this. I really have
Yeah.
and just trying to see how they're doing, what are they doing. And what I'm starting to see is so it used to be people yes, right here. People are taking this, I don't know if you can remember this is a now you can get trying to run this because people are there's these industrial commercial sites that's trying to do it, and they're not taking this back and you can just back it up down. So what people are doing is they're then pushing back up this way to get either out this way or get up here to 264.
And I think the state is kind of working, they're seeing this urgency all over the whole, it's not just you guys, it's a Pea Ridge, the South Fayetteville, the Elkins, right? And some of the improvements that are gonna come over the long term are gonna fix these problems, but it's just gonna take time, right? Well, they money, but I think, you know, we're on track to get some real money with, the way the growth is going on up here. I think they've all noticed that we're becoming a metro complex. We're not just a little cave and we're exploding. So I think the money's kind of coming with looking at the new new northern bypass gonna take place out here. I think all that stuff will kind of, not just speaking here, but fast track because it's needed now. They can't.
Keep going back to the improvements, which is a wider road, curving better. Where is the improvements to add additional, I mean, if you were able to look at it yourself, where would you add additional roads? Because that's really the problem.
Or can I ask this question? Or no, leave it.
Maybe you can ask
Leave it. I get what you're saying. I was trying to.
Where would I add?
Yeah, I'm trying to.
In the community? Well, I think going north-south. You know, it's got everybody's trying to get the truck traffic coming out of the heavy truck coming east, they're trying to stop from going into Springdale with the 612 to get it to the interstate quicker, right? Now they need to get something
Right now,
on
we
the,
don't have any traffic that's on 612.
no, but it should pick up in this summer when they open it. We're gonna see a lot more traffic.
We have to get to the two highways.
Yeah. And I think the north-south side pass they're proposing, at the end of the day, is gonna help this community in this right.
This is why I'm saying.
Well, the one that they're proposing, buying the land on the east side of the airport to go up to.
I think what Rick mentioned, we're talking about the traffic that's just in this area is the problem. It's not necessarily the people who are cutting through it. Those people will change, but just the amount of people that are on around and forward and coming into town is enough to cause around and forward.
Do you think some of those other roads will take 25% of people off of these other roads? Because they use other routes to go
No,
to.
because I think people are already, and I think that it'll take some people off to 614 and off the other springs to go to the airport, but I don't think it's gonna fix ground.
Ground forward's got to just be a little bit of there.
But that's kind of our issue with it is ground and forward, the more improvements, and then if people are going back to other directions, then that's a lot of. It goes out this way, but that's what Jason was saying, he drove for the last couple of weeks, that it was really bad. There's like a short on the bridge, and, it's really narrow, and so, and there's people cutting through. But it's this corner of the city is like kind of like a dead end, because you've got all these people in there already, and more people wanting to get in there, but no ability to get out. Because this whole section coming this way and that way are kind of dead end, because Lowell won't fix this, Springdale won't fix this, and we're slowly fixing this, but it's like not enough to like, it's hard in the brown grade roads, like the 3 lane, and then if this had a stoplight, and then roundabout once the 2 1 goes this way, I think then it's a different story. Because that's the end of town, and we'll have to accommodate just this corner. But right now, it's not good. And then the other conversation I spoke about last night and today is that we have so many privately owned properties that will it ever really get fixed? I mean, until the city comes and maybe decides to buy these things. But right now, you have so many, it improves along the development, like this property here, you'll have stuff out, so that's where the traffic is there and things, and that's what's wrong with ground.
But I mean,
Lots of problems.
developing or not developing, this doesn't affect that either which way. I'll still need to get right away in there. I still need to line the road. I still need to get right away in there, and still need to line the road. So now it's also coming up with money. It feels like we're stuck in that route either way you go.
Developers.
They do create money, and you get at least a portion of the right cleaned up. You also get that little intersection around, I can't speak on that because it's not a problem.
And we don't get this fixed.
Yeah.
You know, which, yes, you have an outlet, but you run back down, how good of an outlet is that, because we get this children?
Yeah.
Right now.
Right,
But, you know,
right now.
probably 7 years, who knows?
It's just what it is. The last time we did,
But there's no development there either, so we have no reason to.
See, we had 20 acres of produced development. And they flat out told us that they did
Just to our I'm worried about issues.
Emma.
They're Emma,
Yeah, there's a house in place, yeah.
Hey, I had a lot of issues with them. They made me go back and forth like 3 times because they changed their mind on where they're putting that on. Which meant I had to pay more money to change their income to go what they get.
I originally signed that big apartment complex there, so I know that. They were like, what's strange, though, like, no, you just stay right here, everything stays right here. And it's like 1 foot on the ground as far as the
And how many people actually go down and I've got 2 properties on Emma and like I always forget about them.
They started out.
But it's like way down. Oh, you should go all the way. Okay, so it's nice. You
I'm glad to actually see something.
yeah. I forget about it being there, but I'm on much nicer than.
The only, is there any way that you can get us access or anything? I don't know. Because we went, because what's happening is they have, what I recall is all of this is private property. They have zero right, they have nothing, they have not changed. That's what we're going to
Yes, those people are.
So we couldn't touch the road, and Lowell wasn't supposed to renting us that. The access to this property was actually their property. So it's just like a dirt road around here, you don't have to break it, start to drift the road. And you end up with road line, most of us because that's, to me, that seems like that's the safest thing if you can get them. Because you get us some kind of drive there. We can make that decision. Right. You can see. Then also, that one thing I'm trying to here, what I do that Jackson houses. What is not what you got. What if somebody said this way back on the road? Yes, I'm sure the yeah. Something like that. If you look, I've got 8 consoles. Please show me all to we're either too low in number for us to get a membership with station, or they saw big cutbacks match those. Like we're trying to make some sort of to get to that north areas, right? See, that's just because they look out at homes. Which is probably not right. It's that and then making this probably right position here. Either We talked about that. I need city council to really be on board. That's where we talked about everything here. Access for some
you know, that would give it you'd have to join some people and just give them some homework. Chisel back. So we can't sit on this stuff. It's one of
I mean, when we need to get I'm fully down with adjusting this stuff. I'm trying to make it. But don't you recognize well, if you did what you said, could be a matter of
what was it?
Say 150.
And where would you take it from? Or what was you looking at?
She just spitball.
Okay. Yeah, just okay on the circulation there, yeah.
So we keep this road. Yeah, because it was 600 first walking. What do we do with this area back here? Those would be a connection right here.
It's a half, it's a half section, which is not, it should have been shifted. It should have been shifted.
But I had to hit the middle of it because
Yeah, this is the Hillcrest, yeah, Hillcrest, yeah. That's all. circulate all to make it more palatable for you. Okay.
I think this makes it more manageable, because you know, nicer amenities, you pay for the station, and you're gonna have better development. It spreads costs out a little bit more equitably. Percentage wise, you're not just blanketing everybody with $10,000. You can drop some here, drop a little more here, and more larger lots.
Are you thinking, like, instead of like phase one, phase two, phase three, you would, work a little on each of them?
Probably do phase 1, 2, 3, right?
They'll probably build your way in, unless it just, however utilities landed and laid the work, right? Because the lift station,
You're gonna have to do those.
yeah, these two are gonna have to go on the front end. And they, you would kind of get in and start this way, you know, build it out. And there's, yeah, you're gonna have to have your entrance in here, yeah.
We don't have the property, like, it would be technically bird land, but we wouldn't really like it.
Even if, I think he's gonna be way more, because.
But here's the thing too, if you have access right here, yeah, that means that portion right here to be a lane. Absolutely, saying, like, it's, we would put houses up against where you live.
My understanding is all right, we're going down that area,
Well,
no.
the door closed then, doesn't mean the door was open in the future.
It'll sound like all of this on
Exactly.
Well, once they get that little roundabout, that's gonna start changing.
Exactly. Yeah, well, they gotta utilize it.
Well, I mean, it's really there.
Yeah.
I don't know how it's gonna work yet.
Yeah.
But it's there. Yeah. I like that.
Even the other stuff out to the east, yeah.
That's the whole intention.
The property was
Well, all of that. Not right
They
now.
get close to that for the future.
So that would be 30%. So bird eyes right there. Would you still not see the pond? Or see the pond right there? We could start out right there. We could eventually connect the bird eyes.
Now, is it something that you guys would also
You can go talk to them.
It's not just that, I don't know if this right here is, Bird Eye is not owned right there, is it? It's by the city, it's the property.
That's where,
Bird Eye is
pieces of it are.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that end right on.
This would give it merit.
I welcome that conversation, and I think that's valuable, especially for City Hall and that property owner. Now, you tell them you're putting this in, that property owner can do it.
Or they're gonna be like, so where's,
Yeah.
could go that way.
Really, the way you put the stuff up to it, but that's.
Well, it's there.
Who is that Clay?
More than
Is that the one that's down there? Clay. Yeah, it is.
5 years ago.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You never know.
Yeah, what's going on there right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like the weird part.
Yeah.
I mean,
What do you need?
Oh, yeah, that's just hard, no. That's true.
Yeah.
And so that's part of.
Oh, he comes.
Because I didn't know originally that.
Bird Eye may not be into it right now, but I do think it has a lot of potential to make this housing.
Or you can take those, you know, it's like, right where this is where I'm thinking that. Slowing down or slowing down. So the shift that slightly down.
That's why we're gonna make that work. You guys got another one?
I haven't seen that.
That's same.
Have you seen that?
And shoot it
And roundabout,
all the
stop and discussing? No.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So- They're so safe, those roundabouts are so safe.
Well, they are if you slow down the
But
speed.
it's just, yeah, it goes like that. Yeah. They'll take that. But again, if there's either some future thing with wall and this and that stuff.
It was in Fayette. It was in Newville and.
I think they use a lot of that. We also get amenities right there, which can help with what may eventually end up being another thing.
What Clay's down here in Springdale's right back here. But I think it's Cole, is it now? Yeah. Down in Springdale.
Is it brown or divided?
So we can show them this road.
There's a spring down here.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
I like it, we've got this traffic flow on that.
Those are well, and I'm not letting anybody else.
Hindsight's always 20/20.
Because that's so that's buildable land right now. It's so flat earth. Yeah.
We can't line up on that dog, that little kink they left you there anyway, what do you? What if you lose one lot there and you get to keep it somewhere else? Does that?
It's art. That's the which is, unless you guys can get us, access, or maybe sell it, or split off, just the right of way. Yeah.
Hey, give me 200, can we get more lots out of this one, we can find more like property to help, right? That's all we.
There's a conversation to that property. I like it. Good shot.
Printed every Friday in the office, pick up the check.
Well, so we can work on our street grid layout and continue tinkering with this and come back in the next agenda and discuss it. I don't want to keep everyone here in the boiler room so we get a decision in, so I'm not expecting that to happen.
I really appreciate what you guys are doing, talking to me.
Certainly.
At least you guys know where we're coming from.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's why I called Gene after that last meeting and said, we ain't getting our agreement. We've got to figure something else out.
And I appreciate the compromise.
All we're wanting, I mean, I think collectively, we all want to agree that, we don't want to create problems.
Yeah.
Not that he's a good, everybody in this room.
We can fix something, we'd rather fix it now than later, just because we all see what we got to deal with every day. A lot of problems that never been fixed.
And I like the thought process that went into the sizing, because, you know, the word, doesn't exist in things like this.
And they all get to this order.
It don't fit bold out there, Hickory Creek either, right? There's none left, it doesn't seem like.
And so,
I think it's what it's a state. They know. Yeah. What's going on now, and it's, we're in it, which we're like, right? Just the people we gotta figure out and try to do the best with it. It's a drone, yeah, it's a drone thing, so they need to go house.
Everything else going on? No, I can draw that up. I'll send that over to y'all.
Yeah.
How we are, it's all,
Requirements,
get concerned about it's not the rezoning, it's the density of it and how people move in and out of the area. Right. And I think this helps them see trying to come up with solutions. And it starts to get them, at least they have our vantage point. We're working together.
Right.
We're trying, and so, I think that's a plan where they see, or they have a taste of the progress that's being made, and it's true collaboration, and it's not, there is some heartburn for things that's happened in the past, and I'm not saying that some of the recent past, but it, sure, you know, that maybe wasn't done up and up, you know, or have the best, because the vision wasn't there, it was looking at the now, it wasn't looking at the tomorrow.
Yeah.
And they're hearing the squawk from the neighbors of the problems from 20 years ago, 15 years ago, or whatever. And so that's resonated in their mind.
Oh, Hillcrest burned everybody. So I've had to talk about Hillcrest the last 5 items I've been here on.
Well, because they didn't do it.
Sure, no, I mean, I understand why.
There's that, but there's also things that like Brentwood, there's things that didn't go as well as was intended, right? There is, but we were talking about that flood. So you guys are talking about flooding. That's an example where there was a lot of flooding, and that was about 20 years ago, right? It's still in the forefront today, and the council's having to hear about that. So, right. And that's where all I'm trying to do is give you an understanding.
Was it this design, or is it just the amount of rain we've had in the last 5 years?
It's a combination.
There's some things that probably didn't get engineered correctly into the standard. 20 years ago. With the drainage manuals changed, all that kind of stuff changed. Plus we've had events that are historic.
11 inches.
So there's all those things, but it still doesn't change the.
No, oh yeah,
the constituents have
Right.
We're at 2 different pieces of figuring that 7 inch rate or whatever.
No, wasn't it? 2 hours.
It impacted that light pole, but.
Oh, yeah.
Completely ground.
Yes. Yeah, that was like 2 hours. I remember that.
And that bridge, when we were putting in there, you couldn't see it.
We'll tweak it and come back next time. Thank y'all for talking to us and giving us a chance to. Well, most cities don't do these work sessions, so it's hard to get everyone together and get feedback. So it's been very helpful for us.
And us too.
Thank you guys very much. Appreciate it.
Can I get a picture of that?
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I think you can take your strap.
She can send me a picture. That way you still have it.
Can you take a picture of it?
Yeah, she'll.
I'll get on it. Your wife had this
Might be able to get Blake to do that. Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
He's a madman. All right, y'all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Let's
Okay. Yeah, hey guys, how are you? I haven't seen you in a while. How are you?
Hi there. Talked to Madison and Dave about we had miscommunication on my end for last work session, so they said we could just come in tonight to visit about a couple things. Back to Brown Road, which is a hot topic.
This was the old landfill property you're talking about, right?
Yep. Yes. So, going back to that, there was the sewer issue. There was the it falls under the subdivision stuff. So then we had to widen the road, right of ways, utilities, curb.
Right.
So all that being said, that's a $250,000 to $300,000 deal to go from where Brown Road has that now, bottlenecks now. There, roughly about 600 feet, which is to the other end of that 5 acres, is going to be, and this is all off the cuff from a friend of mine who works for a dirt contractor that does stuff like that. He said 250 to 350,000, and that depends on if they hit anything on the way or if it's any bedrock and all the variables. So with that being said, we obviously can't purchase the lots and pay 350, 250,000 to extend and widen the road for the 2 single family houses. So with a little bit of research, I reached out to Benton County Health Department.
Recap really quick, because I wasn't here at the last meeting. Are you talking, how many lots?
Oh, I'm sorry. So it's at the,
So, you know Miss Lily across the road? So at the end of her driveway, we want to buy 3 acres. So it'd square off. So essentially, her 5 acres would be 1.5, and then she'd be at 2.
Yeah.
Or something.
So Lily's property backs up the subdivision, she remains with
Yeah, her side does. Yeah.
And then the other is splitting into 2 lots?
Yeah.
And they're, an acre each?
Acre,
1.5.
Like 1.43, something like that.
Okay, sorry.
No, it's okay.
Yeah. Want to make sure I was on the same page.
Yes, ma'am. So I reached out to the health department and asked them. They said, given that in this situation, when I showed them that initial survey, right, they said that does count as a subdivision because there's 3 lots. And then whenever I told Kyle that Miss Lily's lot is not changing, she's staying hooked up to her septic the way she is. We're going to be a fence between her and the first lot. And I just told him it was 3 acres being split in half one time for 2 new lots, right? And he said, revise your survey to just show me the 3 acres split in half. And he said that will fall under the requirements to where the health department will issue septic systems. And that was not a workaround. That was just, okay, we were presented with, if we do it like this, we're going to spend, $150,000 each roughly, plus the lot cost, and then to build our families a house and all that. So that was just a route that I explored.
Is that agriculture today?
And I don't have it in front of me.
It is agriculture A2 currently, which would be residential.
Yeah, it required reason.
Yeah, it would require, but it's agriculture right now, A1.
Yes.
And what their lot size would be R1.
I think it was R1,
Yes.
A2.
RE.
A2 or a residential estate. As long as they can have 2 acres or above.
On this one, two was about the fact that it was the land or.
Right, so the question then was back to what you're saying, Karen, was, will it perk?
It did.
It did perk.
Yes, sir.
So they would grant, the State Department will grant, or Health Department, I should say, the Health Department will grant septic use there.
Yes, sir. So I had my septic guy come out, and we did perk test for essentially both lots. So like we did one over here. You know, we don't have it surveyed officially yet, but we're just pulling off a map. So we did one over here for this lot, one in front of this lot. And he said without a question, we dug the first hole and he said that it'll be fine. We dug the second one, he said we're good, then we went to the other lot, same thing.
Okay.
And in that tile at the health department said, he said if James says it perks good and it falls under these requirements, then he said I'm good with it. Doing it septic.
Okay. So that was the big question, right? The other statement, really, one question was, if it is split, then it has to have a right of way for a proper road to go through there, right? So.
What? A right of way through the?
Well, not through the front of your home. You would have to have a right of way, because if you're just splitting the 2 lots, or it's 3, then it wouldn't hit, Minor said that it wouldn't trigger a road improvement, street improvement.
It does. It's a subdivision, it triggers the subdivision improvements.
So it triggers the road improvement,
Yes.
it's just 2 lots.
Two lots, that 3 lots that
Three,
trigger.
more than 2 lots. It triggers the subdivision improvements.
Or on create.
But they're looking at doing just 2 lots.
Well, they're actually
They're
taking
going from
from
1 to 3.
They're going from 1 to 3.
So there's a total of 3 lots.
So then the street does get improved.
Yes.
Okay.
That's why it was a discussion last time, was it triggers the subdivision improvements, because that is based on Benton County Health Department's regulations also. That was the whole reason we did that.
Well, that's what, I was thinking.
And then as far as the city goes, we've had no discussion as far as approval from them, whether they were going to allow some sort of like alternate design thing, because we based our regulations on that. So a subdivision is taking any lot, parcel, from 1 to more than 2.
So her lot will count as 1, even
Yes.
though it's state.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how the regulations are.
Okay.
So then,
So you'd have so they could have a septic system,
Right, they can do that.
but they have to do the
Still
street
have to do
improvements,
road.
the half street improvements.
the half street improvements?
Just on
Your side.
Just on your side of the street,
Oh, okay.
south side of the street.
Now, is that, so then you've got the existing home
Yes.
that, if I'm understanding that correctly, that they would have to contribute to the half street improvement.
Like, based on how it's
It would be the
all
whole
supposed to
of
work
the
out.
property.
Yeah. That was
The street
the
frontage.
wonkiness of it. And that was also like what happened with the sewer side of it. Was based on it being a subdivision essentially.
Right.
I mean, I think I was trying to find an email. I know Will had said that they were gonna have to hook up to sewer.
Have to, or it's an option to? I guess that's what we gotta understand.
Yeah, that's right. So, what Public Works Director sent was that, they would need to hook up to sanitary sewer for the following reasons. Southeast portion of the property is located within the presumed habitat of endangered species. Part of the reason for our specs is to protect this species, we own, and it gave some maps and stuff. Some of the parks regulations and all those things. The second thing is the project is considered development. All developments within the city of Case Green shall have sanitary sewer extended and tied to the project. Decentralized wastewater treatment systems, including new septic systems, shall not be allowed in the city, and they are specific to the karst areas.
I believe though, maybe I'm wrong, I don't think that subject property is inside the karst. It should be there. Actually, it's right here. That's not showing that for some reason. Yeah, so it should be that right there.
Well, I think this is the best scenario for density on Brown Road.
Yeah.
Yeah, it helps.
Just having two houses.
Yeah, because there's just the three there, rather than have that subdivision expanded.
I like that comment. That's good.
Need to just be talking about just
So we just got to
3
do
acres.
Do what?
You need to find a way to just be dealing with a 3 acre piece.
That's what Kyle, the health department said. He said,
That's what we thought coming in tonight, is we kind of scratch her lot out of the picture, and we just bring 2 lots.
But what Nancy's
But
saying is
you
make
have
the
to,
two lots
first
one.
you have to split.
You got to carve hers off
First.
because, because you're still, if it's all one lot, you can divide it into 2, but then you can't come back and divide the bigger one into 2 more. That's, you're wanting 3 lots out of that. You need to find a way that you just are living with those 2, with the 3 acres.
that's what, I think
That's what
we just want the 3 acres split in half at one time, so that
Yeah.
it's not, doesn't mean.
But
But
it's
it's
part
not-
of a bigger lot.
It's all
And
one
so,
person.
and as long as it's part of,
what do we need to do to get that done? Like you're saying.
Split
That's
that.
another thing.
One person by 3 acres, is what she's saying.
So you're saying I need to buy it all and sell it then?
You would be able to put 2 homes on.
They'd have to
They'd have to come back in and try to split it again.
Which is a fear of us not being able to do.
Right.
One of the last comments is, we want to know what we have to do to build our family's 2 houses right there. We obviously want.
We want to do it by y'all's book, but
that's what we want. That's what.
And to be transparent,
I mean, it sounds like dedicate right away and put in the street improvements or
Yeah,
whatever.
I don't think there was anything,
And then the.
anybody was against, creating 2 lots there.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Well, yeah, I agree with that.
I think it's just doing what the code says, bring it in, show us that you're gonna dedicate the right of way, put in the street improvements, and you're off to the races.
Yeah, but that's the $300,000.
that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
that's what we can't.
Well, is that, or that was, I guess I'm a little bit confused at this point, David, whereas Will is saying that they have to put sewer in?
Well, originally they were wanting to put sewer in, yes.
Right.
But it wasn't, ran through engineering, so we had that conversation about it, having to go through engineering and everything. But yes, he has said that, they'll need to hook up to sanitary sewer.
But it's a large enough lot, and sewer is not currently available. If there was a sewer was running across there, I'm talking right now. If sewer was running across there, then they'd have to connect, but the sewer's not currently there. So-
across the street.
Yes.
Oh, it's just,
Yeah, it's adjacent to it across the street.
It's down the subdivision.
Well, that's not in front of that's not in front of the subject property. So you'd have to extend it, but if in lieu of extending, they have large enough lots. Now, if these lots were less than an acre, they'd have zero opportunity other than extending sewer, right? But now it's greater than an acre, once they're an acre and a half, and they would perk and they could have a septic. Does the code specifically say they couldn't have septic? I know you can't have both services on the same.
What it says is you have to hook up to sewer if available, and it's available. I think it's essentially.
Is it?
Well, okay, I guess that's the thing. It is adjacent to the property. It's not detrimentally difficult to get to. You don't have to bore under a state highway or do anything like that, which is what the state code, I think, actually.
So you'd have to.
Like when it's within, 65 feet of the subject parcel, it's considered available.
they'd have to take it across our property to get to them, where they're, is that correct?
And then does it create another thing, because you're not supposed to have two services. So now if she has, the current landowner has septic, and now sewer goes across it.
She would need to.
At some point, yeah, the property has to connect too.
Whenever the sale of the property or development.
And right now, they would have to bore underground and go across two properties.
I'm a little confused on, I'm just talking, not saying one way is right or wrong, I'm just trying to talk and understand. I guess I'm a little bit confused why that would have to, yeah, why it would have to connect. If the parcels are big enough, it sounds like they would be, and they would perk. So you've hit sanitary sewer, you've created a septic field, it's not in karst, I don't believe this is in it. I'm looking at the karst map, this is outside the karst zone. I could be wrong, the way I'm looking at it, it's outside of it. I think it's that parcel right there.
Yeah, it's not even.
Not even close to it. So karst regulations wouldn't apply to that, or the karst impacts would not apply to it.
From the septic standpoint.
From the septic standpoint.
So now you're just looking at the health department, is it okay, then.
And there's a separation of the existing parcel, right? We're reducing it's currently septic, and we're saying it wouldn't change. And then I'm speculating that the homes that's on the other side are all septic to the north of Brown Road.
They are.
Northeast, right?
Say all.
So all that quadrant is currently septic. So why would it have to connect specifically to the city sewer? Now, I would make an argument that it has to have the right of way for it to be extendable through it.
Yeah.
So that if anything develops.
Well, the sewer is on the north side, I don't know whether we extend on those, but
Well,
right of way dedication,
yeah.
Has to happen either way.
So if you're not pulling sewer lines and all that, yes, you have half-street improvements. Now, let's go into the drill down on this, because this is where it always gets a little bit gray, and I don't know if I agree with it, but what I see is half-street improvements turning into quarter-street improvements, right? Because the half street's already, one half of the street's already paved, but that's the question. So then you have to add the right-of-way, curb and gutter installed there, sidewalk. So
And it would be
Weren't we going to?
just there.
We're gonna
Not-
discuss like finding out if there was an option for a fee and due, or I hear that it's making money is the problem now.
So, let me ask another question. I want to back up, and I think this is because we adopted the code change Rainbow. We wanted those improvements on Rainbow.
Yes.
We couldn't get there because the code at the time didn't allow for those provisions. And this was kind of another one of those indications. It was like the code has to change.
Yes.
So let me paint you a picture, another picture. So Rainbow Road, Rainbow Shores, the corner. That 10 acres?
It was 10 acres, yeah.
10 acres was split off to make
Five.
1 plus acre parcels. 1 point something each one of them, I can't remember.
The biggest one was at the back, because of the terrain.
But our code didn't allow for street improvements. So we've all traveled down Rainbow. And all the traffic that goes down Rainbow. And now because it's a minor subdivision, there's no street improvements, which didn't benefit anybody. So now we've got a narrow road that we still will need to be widened. What we're talking about, some of this going on today is back to Brown, and people are going to start moving that way, whether we like it or not. How do we get have that improvement, get it done?
Brown today doesn't have curb and gutter, so I don't know why it would be $250,000.
Well, it's
to make that have to bring it up.
but they have to bring it to the code.
And adjacent to them is curb and gutter. The curb and the sidewalk stops, right on the edge of the
Well,
property.
that's not adjacent to them, it's
Yeah, it's right on the
quarter
edge of
of
the
a
property.
mile.
No, the subdivision right across from it's got curb and gutter and sidewalk.
The one behind me does, yes, and then the one behind Lily, yes.
Yes, and on Brown, it comes out to Brown and it turns up, and it goes right to the edge of Lily's property and it stops.
Right.
And so it would be directly adjacent to this property, sidewalk, curb and gutter.
And then the Easleys, which is your family, is right across the road from the property he's trying to buy. Is there a way to make it part of that parcel?
I don't understand.
I don't know.
So his family owns the acreage across from the property he's trying to buy.
The red roof, is that right?
No, so that's farther east.
Okay.
So like her property and then Derek's and my parents are gonna be like right in front of the 3 acres.
Gotcha.
It's like our front door, we're looking at everybody.
I'm with you.
It's just right there. As soon as Brown Road flattens out, you come up the dip from Hickory, and then it flattens out, and that's essentially the start of Miss Lily's property and yours on the corner. But there's nothing.
So Miss Lily will still have 3 acres between
She'll have
the
2.
subdivision to you,
2.
right? I'm assuming it's linear?
So it's a rectangle, and like she's going to keep the 2 acres with the subdivision to her side, and then I'm getting the middle lot, and he's getting the side to it.
Yeah, it all comes down to what's code specifically saying. Because
I think it's a great idea. 2 homes.
I like it.
Yeah.
How do we support that? I like what they're saying. In my opinion, the septic shouldn't matter. Like, if they can do septic, I bet we all have concerns that it wouldn't hurt.
Well, I didn't think it would either, and we pulled up historical maps and looked at it and how it laid and whatnot, and there's actually room in the front, so that's what triggered the idea of maybe getting that approved, and then, so, I don't know how all the ordinances and everything tie in together and whatnot, but I know that it's beyond the health department's state law of being within 300 feet and easily, readily available, like affordable and whatnot. That's another thing that they mentioned.
I think the biggest thing is just identifying about the street improvements and how that sits with our code. It sounds like there are real.
I mean, y'all would have to approve for them not do it.
That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
There's gonna be some criteria. This is some kind of request that's gonna have to be put together.
Yeah, because they were told about this at the beginning, and so they didn't want to do it, so we're gonna have to buy flat and ask the planning commission not to do it. I think
The
it's-
struggle I see, and I think even sitting here tonight, you will hear, the struggle we're gonna have with it is the same thing, is we now have these roads that they didn't improve, and then now we've got an adjacent property that's developing, and they wanna have more residents there, and now the road doesn't support it, so we would be doing almost a disservice to the city in the future if we don't hold everyone to that code. I mean, that'd be like us offering a subdivision that came before you, okay, you don't have to do the street improvements. I understand they're a bigger entity, I do understand that.
I totally understand. It's just,
So, I think that's where we are, and you have to identify as some kind of hardship, and financial, unfortunately, is not hardships that we can consider as a commission.
I know. Well,
That doesn't give you probably the right answer that you're looking for, but.
it's just as far as affording it for us. I mean, we'd love to put 2 homes there. It's better than having 5 of them there one day, but we can't afford to.
That's the struggle, I think, that we have to follow the code, and if there's a hardship presented to us other than a financial reason, we can.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, that helps.
Yeah, it is.
My 2 cents. I have no skin in this game. They're just 2 of my best friends. I want to see them get a house there. So obviously, the problem with it is potential future development and what we're running to at the end of Ford Lane, where there's no right of way there. There'd be subdivisions on either side. You can't expand the road. If there was right of way, the developer and or the city would be able to put that in place. I know that kicks the can down the road of the cost, but it doesn't.
The city doesn't have the money.
Well, but it's not needed right this second.
yeah.
But then
Well,
the developer's gonna complain, well, why didn't you make those people pay?
Well, we only can require the developer to do what's within their street frontage, you know that as a developer. You're not improving across Ford Lane on the church over there.
No, so
That's
that-
not yours.
And that's what I'm wondering about the west portion of the property they're buying that she's going to keep.
Yeah.
How can you require it if it's not being sold?
That part is.
Well, so it's the property's changed, it's been split, it's been modified. That's what the trigger is. So, that's what I'm trying to understand. Well, what does the code say? And then this is where it fundamentally it ties our hand, because then if you grant something that doesn't follow the code, then you, as another person that's buying and selling land, and just not pointing at you directly, but you as an individual, you're gonna make that pay, wait a second. And now we've set, if we would grant something like that, it sets the city up for litigation to be arbitrary and capricious, making those types of decisions, right? So kind of what we're trying to do is spitball for what is within our boundaries, right? I don't think anybody disagrees with what wants to happen there. And I like it. I really like it. But what got instituted between, like if you came in here last year and did this, then we would have said you had to put the right of way. That's what the code says. But you didn't have to do street improvements. But we've had issues in the past where people, the way the code is written, they wanted to do these minor subdivisions. They wanted to skirt doing the sidewalks. They wanted to skirt doing these things. And now you can fast forward to today where we really needed those things as a community. So now that's what the code says. That's the law. So how, you see what I'm saying?
So what is the time limit in between lot splits? How many times can you split the same parcel? Is it one a year, one?
It's number of times. I can't remember how this is now written. It was so many times per decade previously.
Because, simple answer, this didn't come from that, that's just me thinking, if it was me, split it off, one of them buys it, build one house on it, when that house is done, split it again, do the next one. that avoid all
That's
this.
another potential, again, I don't wanna skirt the rules, but it's how are the rules written, right?
That's
And
how
if
they're
that-
written.
And if that.
And then in the big
in
picture
the
on
big-
it, you know.
you kind of get to where we're trying to go.
And I get that, but I'm saying if they did that, there would be no legal or ordinance allowing you to say no to what they would be requesting at that point. But if they're here offering to give the city right away and do it that way, that's a good compromise in my
I mean,
mind.
that's all
There
for
would
the bare
need to
minimum.
be right away.
What's
That's
that?
all for the bare, that's the bare minimum, and that's gonna happen no matter what, that's not what they're offering anything.
Well, but I'm saying if they
That's not
just
offering in the middle.
if they just split 3 acres,
Yeah, but today there's not easements on that road.
if they split 3 acres off,
Yeah, but you're saying you would give an easement to the city for when that widening comes, right?
but if the 3 lots is the trigger for the minor subdivision, they split it into 3 acres, they go build a house, they avoid all that. Yeah, they go do it again right afterwards, they avoid that. So if they can, and then there's 0 right of way, which I think if an attorney got involved, they could argue that and they could go build both those houses. It might take them an extra 6 to 12 months. Yeah, and then there would be 0 right of way on Brown Road right there. But if they offered it this way, in the future, the city could go back and put it in. They didn't tell me to say that.
No,
I was just back there.
no,
I want to see them live there.
Again, I'm trying to look at it both ends,
I
right?
know there's
Or
something in the
multiple
code
ends.
about how many times you can split, there's something in there.
I think it's no more than twice in 2 years, but that would be completely wrong.
Randy, we're
What's-
talking about how many times can you split a lot, what's the time limit?
That I'm not sure. I know the county has a number, and I don't know if it's 3 or 4.
We've got
That's,
some,
I think you're welcome to do it that way.
ours was tied to the
That's
county.
oh, okay.
That's what I was thinking, why not just split it whenever you buy it? I mean, but if we're having, I guess,
We're
a
scared.
financial issue, like of putting forward that money, which one of you wants to dish out the money to buy one, you know, at one time?
Buying one lot, yeah, buying one lot isn't,
That's
a financial issue is the 300 on top of
Yeah.
buying a lot and getting it.
It's, I go buy it, sell half of it, and then we're not able to even use it.
Yeah.
I do have a question. What you were saying about how we are not able to use the financial as an argument to not put the curb and gutter in, as silly as it sounds, I don't know about any of this, could I go up to all of the properties around it within 1,500 yards and knock on the doors and say, would you like curb and gutter, or are you against it? And if I come back with a bunch of signatures that say you're against it, is that at least a starting point?
No, because
It's not really.
No,
It's required.
this street section code
I was just
It's
Yeah.
a good thought, but.
Well, and the residents that you've heard in, I mean, in here in other meetings, like if you watch the recent meetings, it's all the same thing. It's traffic, it's drainage. We're dealing with the same problem. We don't wanna create another problem that we're fighting off on another development. There's no need to create it.
It helps with the current problem, but it's not helping for future problems. That's what it is.
Right.
But right now, that is still families, and I don't know anybody that's willing to sell there besides Lily, and she's not willing to sell the portion that she's wanting to keep. And I don't know if we're selling to anyone but you, so I'm not really sure how you did that, but kudos.
Thank you.
Because I've tried.
So it sounds like it's a conversation between staff. I mean, David, it doesn't sound like it's anything for us to debate any further. It sounds like we need an answer from staff, what our code says, what your next path is. I think you're hearing from this commission, I'll speak for myself, we're in support of what you're doing. So we need to find a way that it works with our code and with the future of the city.
Okay.
So that's a conversation for staff, what's required and how to handle it.
Is there anything that would give a way?
Well, I mean, from a staff standpoint, I mean, we can't, approve these, and, they're aware of what's required, so they're gonna have to ask them.
Well, we can't tell them how many times they can rezone in a year. I mean, we need
Or
to.
splits, yeah.
Yeah, they need to know they need to know those things, so
They
they
can,
can make their plan.
yeah, they
Well, we
can.
can also take and, split something and make things like this happen, and put a condition that it ain't gonna split, and we've done that in the past,
Correct.
so. I mean, that's not the staff approval.
Well, they
But I
just
mean,
need the information
I'll look up
provided to
the,
them.
timing as far as that
Yeah.
stuff goes.
They just need to gather all the information and then Nico can guide you.
My last question too is, so obviously the 3 lots is what's triggering this. If the parent tract that's agriculture right now, that remains with the same owner, remains in the same zoning, it is not.
It can't though, that's the only thing. Because it goes under, like ag requirement, it triggers it to be rezoned.
To residential?
To whatever it's compliant to. So at 2 acres, it could be or A2 suburban ag.
Yeah.
Or residential estate RE.
Gotcha.
But it could also be R1. It could be it could be more dense, right? That's not what we're looking for, but it could, everything, all 3 parcels would have to be.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's the trigger.
Yeah.
See if her parcel was above 5 acres, let's say she had 7 acres or whatever that she wanted to spin off, I had to work with, it was gonna spin off 2, right? Then it wouldn't hit a trigger for her, there would be no changes that would be required, because it still falls within that zone. But
worth a shot.
nah, it's
Or
just,
the whole thing was under too.
yeah.
What's the new zone? Wasn't there a new zone being proposed?
Well, there's a whole, that's.
Or is that way down?
That's
Way
a
down the
whole,
road.
that's down the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not even there yet.
We still got what we got.
This thing.
Yeah.
Well, what's the minimum for a city?
Well, yeah.
No.
Estate and suburban ag are the exact same thing, basically, both 2 acres.
2 acres.
But they're both way 2
Yeah.
acres.
Yeah, they're like the exact same thing. Like, that's why I think we're proposing to just combine them.
Right.
Because there's just no reason to have both.
Will Lily sell you 2 more acres?
She only has.
Well, she has 3, she keeps 1, sells 2 more.
Yeah, but then what happens
And
is
they
where,
try to-
where her home is and.
She's on 2 that she's not willing to.
She's on
I think where her house is, though, it would be
And
hard.
she's right up the road.
Where her house sits, it's
It would be too hard to sell that.
unfortunate. So moving forward, everyone's good if we build. We just need to figure out exactly the details that we have to.
Have to
And
make
we-
it
Did
fit.
we find that out here or?
You got staff members here that have all the code,
Okay.
that they should be able to guide you through all those details. If there is anything that you can ask for, if it's variance wise, then it would come in front of Board of Zoning Adjustments, which is the same group of people, but held as a different body meeting, right? And then if there's anything that can be requested, like the lot splits, for example, and the rezone would all come to the planning commission. But if there's anything else that falls under that, then it would be heard here. But it's all gotta start from staff of what's the code say, what are regulations you have to follow? And then if there's gray area in there, then that's where it comes into this, it comes in here for this discussion, like, well, how is that? So I think we all see the intent, we all agree with you, we're all on we're on the side of what you want to do. It's just what's the code say you have to do. And we don't want to get into a situation where we're not following the code, right? We have to, that's what we're charged with, to the best of our abilities, following the code. And the code has got updated, and it was some of these things that you're asking for not too long ago, it would have allowed. But it doesn't do that now.
Sounds good. Well, I know we went on the agenda and whatnot, but I
Thank you,
appreciate you guys staying late to.
Absolutely. Appreciate you coming in and being patient with us as we work through the.
Yeah, we'll keep working on it. We'll figure out a solution. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Dave, you got anything else we need to talk about?
No, sir.
How about
Oh, thank
planning
you.
commissioner?
Thought you were about to say
Anything
something.
else you guys have?
No.
Scared you.
Yeah, you're good.
I was like, maybe.
All right, I think we're done. Thank you very much.